So here we are in Cura. I have a part here which really would make the most sense. Let's see, select the part. Would make the most sense if I were to lay it on this face, 'cause that's going to have the least amount of actual supports beneath it. So I want to look at the settings over here, which are in the top right. If I click on this, these are the kind of the recommended settings, which I recommend that you work with. There are custom settings you can get into, but we're not going to get to that level of detail. So profiles. So here you have extra fine, which basically changes the layer height to fine, to normal, to draft. Alrighty. So this changes the layer height and the speeds basically to trade quality, like high quality. The smaller the layer, the more detailed it can be. But more detail means more build time, right? That's the difference there. So if at a draft quality, it's zero point 0.2 millimeters thickness of a layer. If we go to extra fine and it reslices and rethinks that, it's gonna be a lot more because you're gonna literally need more passes to get up to the same amount. So it slices it, and now it's 4.5 hours. So 3 hour differential. So it makes a big difference. So I'm gonna stay on the draft because nothing I'm printing needs to fit with anything else. So 0.2 millimeter layer height is just fine for what we're doing. Then you have the infill percentage. So 100% infill would mean it is completely solid plastic all the way through and through, which if you noticed, now takes 5.5 hours. So that takes a long time because really we don't need it to be solid through and through. We need solid faces, but inside of that, there's just going to be a grid, usually of some type, some meshed, either a crosshatch or something like that. It just adds rigidity, but it saves a lot of material from the actual part. So let's keep that at 20%. You could even go down to 10 if it's not a crucial part and there's no. It's not going to take a lot of weight, and that's going to save you on time as well. Supports and adhesion. So support is for, let's say you had a part, let's say you couldn't lay on a face like that, but had to sit on something like this, and you had a an open overhang basically that you just can't avoid. There's no position you can put it in that avoids that entirely. So in this case, whenever you see that's showing up red, it's telling you, hey, this is unsupported right now, right? If I look at it, right, not from behind this, but I look at it from underneath, that's unsupported. It's overhanging. So when the print head comes in, it's going to be depositing plastic from top down, right? And it's not going to have any surface to put that on. It'll be floating midair. That's a problem. So what you do is you turn on supports, and it's a lot easier to see this if you're not in the prepare section, but you're in the preview. So if we're in preview, we see the part right here. This is showing you the layer heights and the layer paths that it's going on. If I add supports and it thinks about it and reslices it, it will add in supports underneath the places that are overhanging. So if you notice, it's supporting it right here, and it's not solid, right? It's there as kind of a back and forth, just enough for it to make contact and support the bottommost layer that it's going to need to do. These snap right off when all is said and done. One other thing too is the less volume you have, or sorry, the less area you have contacting the actual surface. One danger is that the part itself will start moving around and sliding on the plate, which is a problem because you're trying to print on it and the part itself is moving, right? So we always worry about build plate adhesion, which is this last selection here, build plate adhesion, which basically the more plastic you have on the build plate, the more it has to hold on to, and it's less likely to come off and slide around. So depending on the type of part, depending on the geometry, it's not a bad idea to turn this on because, again, it snaps right off when all is said and done, and you're less likely to have a problem with it sliding back and forth. So it's worth the time that it adds to do it. So this adds a little skirt around the outside, or a brim as they call it. You do have other adhesion options. You have a raft, and you have, which is a little more substantial. It's a few layers thick, and it's a little harder to get off because of that. So it's a trade-off basically. But build plate adhesion, never a bad idea, I think, and I think it's worth the cost